Today is the new moon day, 2 weeks before the end of the annual rains retreat, the Vasa. It's a day when we come together to hear the recitation of the monk's discipline, the Patimokkha. As part of our training in the monastery, we are obliged to recite the Patimokkha when we're living together, 4 or more monks. And it's an opportunity to remind ourselves of the rules, the major rules and the minor rules, because there's so many. We need to remind ourselves and clarify sometimes any misunderstandings or areas where we're not sure what we're doing. And we say confess offences, but really what we mean is we reveal any transgressions against the Vinaya, the rules of discipline, to another trusted monk, to make ourselves mindful and re-establish our determination to keep the precepts. And that's how it works with precepts, whether you're a bhikkhu, keeping the 227 precepts of the Patimokkha, or Samanera, 10 precepts, or Anagarika, 8 precepts. They're training rules that you use to basically to change your mind by having them there as a standard of behavior to help you become mindful first of all what you're thinking or intending, and then to guide what you actually say or do. So any precept you may have the intention come up that would lead you to break that precept. Obvious one might be, say, the first precept for 5 and 8 precepts, or a novice 10 precepts, but also for a bhikkhu. Say you have a mosquito land on you. So you might find it annoying because they're biting the blood from your body. Or you may have fear in case that mosquito is carrying disease and you want to get it away. So out of fear or aversion, you might have the thought to squash it, kill it, so it can't come back and bother you. But then we've undertaken the precept not to kill any living creature, not just big ones like humans, but small ones as well. So if you have the intention to kill arise, the idea is you have a precept there that also can come up into your mind. You become mindful, remember your precept. And even though you have an intention or an urge, you're tempted to kill the mosquito, the remembering of your precept overrides that first intention. You say, no, I can't. I'm not going to kill. Obviously you undertake these precepts on whatever level voluntarily. You see the value of training yourself and the value of the Vinaya, the monastic discipline. That won't stop intentions to break the precepts from coming up yet, but you've also taken on the intention or established the intention to keep the precept. So when you have a little conflict in your mind like that, the idea is that you give up to the precept and you decide not to kill, even though part of you might be saying, kill. And then that's the same with all the rules. There may be a part of you saying, don't keep it, or occasionally you just don't even realize. You're not aware of yourself. You don't know what you're doing in that moment. And that's possible as well. But in the case when you know, but you have to restrain yourself, well, you're using the precept to help you abandon the intention to kill the mosquito or anything similar. And of course, if you do that every single time the intention to kill arises, over time the intention to kill will come up less and less, and maybe it'll just stop arising in your mind altogether. And you can actually change your behavior as a human being, how you respond to different situations by using precepts, training rules. So they're helping us to abandon the more coarsest aspects of our speech, our actions that lead to harming others, harming ourselves, making karma, all of which would block or provide obstacles for training your mind in meditation, and particularly developing mindfulness and samadhi. If you keep acting in these more coarse ways, say you continue to kill, steal, take intoxicants, or act out of jealousy or aversion in different situations and so on. If you keep doing that, then it makes it very hard for your mind to settle down on a meditation object when you're coming to meditate. You'll keep remembering and keep proliferating about things you've said and done in the past, conflicts, also desires. If you give in to breaking precepts because of desire, say you might have the desire to eat in the evening, which is again breaking a rule. If you're keeping 8 precepts or Samanera precepts or Bhikkhu precepts, we don't eat in the evening, we don't eat afternoon, but you may still have the desire to come up out of hunger or habit or desire. Maybe you see some food and you're interested in it, attracted to it. So sometimes keeping precepts is about restraining desire as well, not just aversion or lack of mindfulness, but also strong desires, strong urges that come up. And you're putting a limit on them and saying, well, I know I have this desire, but I'm not going to act on it. So of course this takes training, that's why we call them training rules. Sikkhapadang is a training rule to be undertaken. I'm taking this on. So you take it on voluntarily, you want to do that because you see the value. But then you have to keep doing that over and over again, because intentions to do different things, such as eat in the evening, are probably quite ingrained in us. If you've been living in the lay life, you come into the monastery, you'll want to, sometimes you'll have the desire to eat, or other desires, to kill a mosquito, or the desire for any kind of sexual behavior is very normal. If you've been engaging in sexual behavior before you're in the monastery, then you come into the monastery, you have to give it up. We practice celibacy, or nekama barami, where you're giving up sensual desire and sexual desire. So the precepts will help you with that by putting limits on your behavior and making you mindful when desire comes up. Because you meet the boundary, you say, oh, I can't do that, I can't indulge this particular desire. It could be eating in the evening, you say, well, I can't do that. So you have to give it up. And even though at first that may require a lot of effort and you have to be quite vigilant, over time the desires will fade away and you just get used to not eating in the evening, for example, or being celibate. So precepts help us in this way, help us train in being aware of the mind, what the intentions are, and then assessing whether they're wholesome or not, whether they'll lead you to break a precept or not, and then acting accordingly and subduing the desire or the aversion, and to keep doing that until it just doesn't arise anymore. And that will happen, certainly with the minor rules and various desires that you may bring into the monastery with you. A lot of them will drop away quite quickly too, because they're not that hard to drop. Once you see the value of it and you you're developing mindfulness and you have an understanding of the practice, it's not that hard, say, to give up eating in the evening. You get enough food in the morning, but you just don't take food in the afternoon, and most monks appreciate after a while, well, that's a very comfortable way to live. You don't have to worry about cooking and cleaning and storing food in the afternoon. You can move on to other things, meditation, training your mind, study, chanting, listening to Dhamma. So gradually some of the intentions that you bring with you into the monastery fade away and they just stop arising. You never think about eating. Say, I've been in a monastery 40 years, so I just don't even think about eating in the afternoon. It doesn't arise. Doesn't mean to say I don't sometimes feel hungry, but you've got drinks, medicinal tonics that you can take if you're feeling hungry. But the idea of having a dinner or solid food in the evening just doesn't arise. Or the intention to kill a mosquito just doesn't arise. You can train yourself to give up these things. So practicing precepts, whether it's 8 precepts, 10 precepts, 227 precepts, it's a foundation, a very skillful way the Buddha gave us for training the mind to abandon coarse defilements rooted in greed, anger, delusion. And if you do, sometimes you forget yourself or you give in to a desire, well, you have to quickly re-establish the intention to keep the precept afterwards. And you go on with your practice until you don't have to do that anymore, the intention doesn't arise anymore. But you have to keep practicing because you can't just wave a magic wand or express a desire, I want no more greed, no more anger, no more delusion, I don't want to kill a mosquito forever again. You can make a statement like that, or you can have a desire come up, but you have to practice mindfulness and be vigilant and reflect on how to let go of that desire. You can't just do it by sort of making this one declaration, I will not kill, and then assume that will cover you for the rest of your life. It doesn't work like that. You have to keep being vigilant and keep reflecting on the intentions and the states of mind. Living with Sangha also helps you when keeping precepts, because if other people are keeping the precepts, it's normal for them. Well, it's normal for you, then it's easier. If no one's eating in the evening, you don't think of it, because you don't see food, it doesn't figure in your daily routine. And if everyone in the monastery is not eating in the evening, well, that's it, you just don't think about it. It's not an option, it's not part of your life. If everyone's celibate, if everyone practices non-violence, then violence becomes out of place, or sexual behaviour becomes out of place, or eating in the evening becomes out of place. So living with Sangha helps us to keep the precepts. We support each other by keeping a similar standard behaviour, and we learn. And this will help your mind to go deeper into samadhi and then developing insight. So you develop insight from the precepts by noticing how intentions are impermanent. You may have the intention to kill a mosquito come up, but if you don't follow it, you tell yourself, I'm not going to follow that, I'll keep the precept. Well, what happens to that intention? It fades. Because you're not feeding it, you're not indulging it, it will fade from your mind. Lose strength and probably not come up so often. And then you can see it's impermanent, it's anicca. Mental states arise, pass away, intentions arise, pass away, and what's impermanent is not self. Sometimes you hear people say, oh, I have to kill, it's just my instinct or it's part of who I am, I have to kill the mosquito. But it's not, you can train yourself not to kill. So keeping precepts directly leads on to the development of insight into impermanence, into dukkha, and into not self. If an intention to kill is abandoned, let go of, and it disappears from your mind, it's clearly not a self, a permanent self. So the practice of sila or precepts is not separate from practice of samatha or vipassana or any other aspect of the practice. They all support each other. So in a moment we'll be ordaining Noah. He's going forth as an anagarika today, taking the 8 precepts, beginning the first training, part of the training towards becoming a bhikkhu, Buddhist monk. So I'll end the talk here, and he can get ready to come forward and request his anagarika ordination.